You sent a letter to destroy me. Now you'll live long enough to regret writing it.
My people, let me tell you about these two women, Adaeze and Ngozi. One had everything the town admired, the other had everything the town ignored. But by the time I finish this story, you will see that the letter meant to bury one woman carried the very truth that set her free. But wait, let me not get ahead of myself. Let me start from where this began. Adaeze was the kind of woman Abiokun pointed to when it wanted to feel proud of itself. Her husband, Chief Emeka, had built her a house with 12 rooms and painted it the color of fresh cream. She wore French lace to every occasion, even to funerals where grief was supposed to be the main attraction. Laughter. She drove herself to the market in a jeep that made the ground tremble. When she walked, the younger women turned to watch. When she talked, the older ones leaned in. Adaeze did not just live in Abiokun. She was Abiokun, or so she believed. Ngozi was her oldest friend and her quietest shadow. If Adaeze was a lamp lit in the center of the room, Ngozi was the warm glow on the wall behind her. Present, gentle, easy to overlook. Ngozi's husband, Tobena, was a good man with a modest government salary and a laugh that came easily. They had a small house with a leaking roof they kept meaning to fix. Their children ate well. Their home was peaceful, but in Abiokun, peace did not make noise, and so no one spoke of it. The town spoke of Adaeze. They always spoke of Adaeze, and for years, Ngozi had told herself this was fine, that friendship was not a competition, that she loved Adaeze truly, as a sister, the way you love someone who knew you before the world had an opinion of you. But something had shifted in the last 2 years, something Ngozi could feel but could not name. It lived in the way Adaeze's eyes moved over her wrapper before complimenting it. It lived in the small comments dropped like coins into still water. Your husband is such a humble man. Your house has such character, such warmth, the kind of warmth that costs nothing. My people, have you ever had a friend who made you feel small while smiling at you, who sharpened her words on the stone of your peace before handing them to you as a gift? This is the story of that friend, and this is the story of the letter she wrote to end what she could not bear to watch continue. The whispers started small, the way fire always does. Ngozi had begun to notice that when she arrived at gatherings, Adaeze was already there, already talking, and the conversation would shift just slightly the moment she sat down. Not enough to accuse, just enough to feel. At Mama Chisom's naming ceremony, Adaeze had looked at Ngozi's gift, a modest envelope and a yard of Ankara, and smiled at the woman beside her. They exchanged no words, they needed none. The smile said everything Adaeze's mouth would never admit. On the walk home, Adaeze had put her arm through Ngozi's and said, "My dear, you are such a good woman. Tobena is lucky. Not every man needs a wife who impresses people. Some men just need someone loyal." Ngozi had smiled, and she had said thank you. She had gone home and sat in her kitchen for a long time, not cooking, just sitting. It was Tobena who found her there. He did not ask what happened. He simply put his hand on her shoulder and said, "That woman has a gift for making people feel less than they are. Do not receive it." But the gift had already been received, and Ngozi, who had never been a woman of envy or bitterness, found something new growing in the quiet corners of her chest. Not hatred, not yet. Something closer to exhaustion. The exhaustion of being the friend who was always celebrated for being small. My people, this is where it began. Not with shouting, not with a fight, but with a smile at a naming ceremony that cost Ngozi more than the gift she brought. It was a Thursday when the old woman appeared at Ngozi's gate. She was small and bent like a tree that had survived too many dry seasons. Her wrapper was faded and her feet were bare and dusty from the road. She carried nothing except a small calabash and the kind of stillness that makes you lower your voice without knowing why. Ngozi was in the middle of hanging out washing when she saw her. She could have pretended not to. The gate was not fully open. The day was long and she was tired. But Ngozi was not that kind of woman, and her mother had not raised her to become one. She set down the wet cloth and walked to the gate. "Good afternoon, Mama. Are you well? Can I help you?" The old woman looked at her for a long moment, the way elders look when they are measuring something invisible. Then she said, "My daughter, I have been walking since morning. I am only asking for water and a place to rest my legs." Ngozi brought her inside without hesitation. She brought water, then food, then a chair in the shade of the compound. She sat with her a while, not performing kindness, but simply offering it the way she had always done things, quietly, without audience. The old woman ate slowly and said very little. But before she rose to leave, she held Ngozi's hand in both of hers and looked at her with eyes that seemed to carry something older than the afternoon. She said, "What has been sent against you will not land, and what belongs to you cannot be taken by another's hand." Then she walked back through the gate and did not look back. 3 days after the old woman left, the messenger came. He was a young man, breathless and uncertain about the kind of person who had been given a task he did not fully understand. He knocked on Ngozi's gate in the early morning before the town had properly woken up, holding a folded letter in his hand like it was something that might burn him. He said, "I was paid to deliver this to Chief Emeka's house, to his wife, but something kept turning my feet in the wrong direction. I have walked past this street 4 times. I do not know why I am at your gate, madam, but something told me to stop here." Ngozi stood very still. She took the letter from him. She did not know why she opened it. She would not have been able to explain it afterward. But her hands moved before her mind could ask permission, and the words on the page rose up to meet her eyes like they had been waiting. The letter was written in Adesi's hand. Ngozi knew that handwriting. She had seen it on birthday cards and celebration notes for 20 years, but this was no celebration. The letter told Chief Emeka that his wife Ngozi had been meeting another man. It named a place. It named a time. It described things with the confidence of someone who had rehearsed the lie so many times it had begun to feel like memory. My people, the friend who called her loyal, the friend who squeezed her hand at every gathering, the friend who had grown up beside her eating boiled corn by the roadside. It was her hand that had written this. Ngozi did not scream. She did not tear the letter or fall to the ground or call out to the neighbors. She folded it carefully, the way you fold something you intend to use, and she placed it in the pocket of her house dress and thanked the messenger for stopping. She made herself tea. As she sat down, she thought. By evening, she had made one decision. She would not hide. She would not go to Adesi's house with accusations and a raised voice. She would let the truth move at its own speed, the way the old woman had said, "What has been sent against you will not land." The letter had not landed. It had come home instead. She went to Chief Emeka herself, calmly, without theater. She placed the letter on his table and said, "I think this was meant for you. I think you should know who sent it." Chief Emeka read it once, then again. His face moved through several expressions before settling on something close to shame. He recognized his wife's handwriting too. He had 20 years of birthday cards and celebration notes of his own. The town found out the way towns always do. Not through a single announcement, but through the slow movement of truth from one mouth to the next, picking up weight as it traveled. By the time it reached the market, it had become a story. By the time it reached the church, it had become a lesson. Ades did not attend the next 3 gatherings. When she finally came, the room did not shift for her the way it used to, and Ngozi sat in the center of it, quietly, without performance, the way she had always done everything. My people, let us sit here for a moment before we leave this story. Ades had a jeep that made the ground tremble. She had 12 rooms and French lace and the attention of every gathering she walked into. She had everything Abiokun said a woman should want, and yet none of it was enough, because what she could not buy, could not wear, and could not park in her compound was the quiet peace that lived in Ngozi's small house with the leaking roof. That is the thing about envy, my people. It does not announce itself. It comes dressed as friendship. It learns your handwriting so it can forge your destruction. It smiles at your wrapper before it sharpens the knife. But here is what Ades did not know, and what this story wants you to remember. A lie sent with bad intention is still a messenger. And a messenger, if God is involved, will always find the right door. The old woman told Ngozi, "What has been sent against you will not land." And not one word of it landed. Every word went back to the one who sent it. Now, my people, I have a question for you today, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments below. If you were in Ngozi and you found that letter, would you have gone quietly to Chief Emeka the way she did? Or would you have gone to Adaz's gate first? Think carefully before you answer, because what you choose says more about you than it does about Ngozi. Drop your answer in the comments, and if this story sat with you the way I think it did, share it with that one friend who needs to hear it today. Like and follow for part 2, because my people, Adazi is not finished yet.